Hello and welcome. My name's Jordan, and today on History Shortened we will be looking at human rights, and in particular ancient human rights. I don't want to start getting confused by saying any country in particular has better human rights at the moment or comment on any current day political human rights. Now, there are channels out there if you want to look at that, please go and have a look. But today I'm looking at this purely historically. The closest I will get to the modern day is the Magna Carta. So I hope you enjoy and let's get into it. Thank you. Okay, so just before we start, I have got notes here. So if you see me kind of drop my eyes to the side, you'll know that I'm kind of going off one of my notes. So I haven't written a script like I have done in the past. This is kind of going to be a bit more of a freeform sort of video. As we all know, I am still trying to find my feet in YouTube. So if you like the way that I'm doing it this time round, please like, subscribe, just comment, let me know. If you prefer the way that I've done it in the past, also let me know. And again, if you have any ideas on how you'd rather see these videos done, again, all comments are welcome. Now, to start with, I'm going to be going straight to ancient Mesopotamia. And if you've watched any YouTube videos at all on history, you'll know about the Hammurabi Code. Now, this was a code that was set out in 1754 BCE, and it was just, it laid out laws, punishments, and other things. But along with that, I think it also sets out a lot of different ways that protects the rights of humans, especially citizens within that civilization in ancient Mesopotamia at this time. Now, I'm not saying that it's in any way comparable to what we have in modern day, but at the same time, it really was quite progressive for the time. Now, it does set out for the protection against mistreatment for children, property rights for women, and yeah, it goes a long way to justice and equality for the time. Now, a lot of these messages that is set out in the Hammurabi Code will be echoed in later incarnations of the human rights codes as we see moving forward. But I think it's the best place to start. It's the oldest one we have, and I think it's a good place just to acknowledge that's where we're starting at. So after ancient Mesopotamia, we're going to actually move on to ancient Egypt. Now, as we know, ancient Egypt spans a vast time period. You'll have watched videos in the past on ancient Egypt and know that there is a massive time scale that we're talking about here. We're going to focus in on the 12th century BCE. Now, we know about the workers' rights around this time because of the excavation of Deir el-Medina, which was a village that housed the workers who were constructing tombs at the Valley of the Kings. Now, we know we have details and records of their wages, even accounts of labour strikes. For instance, in the 12th century BCE, we have a record of organised labour strikes over grain rations, which I think emphasises their ability to demand for better working conditions. Now, along with this, we have tomb inscriptions that highlight the importance of both rights during their lives and their afterlife. As we know, the afterlife is such a massively important part of ancient Egyptian life. So looking after that was part of the pharaoh, who was obviously the god king. That was part of his role. If you can't look after their life, you've got to look after their afterlife as well. And that's all part of the contract of being the pharaoh, along with obviously making sure that the sun rises and Apophis is defeated. Now, additionally, there is stories in the Middle Kingdom through literary texts that depicts peasants pleading for justice over being wronged, and this, I think, emphasizes that they have such a strong sense of justice in ancient Egypt. Now, when we think of ancient Egypt, we always think about their building works, the Temple of Karnak, obviously the pyramids of Egypt, their warfare, their fight against the sea people in the Bronze Age, Ramesses, and even the biblical stories. But we tend not to think about the social structures that held up this amazing empire, and that could possibly have led to the downfall of other Bronze Age civilizations in 1200 BCE, roughly. They could have collapsed because they didn't have the same robust social structures that were in place in the ancient Egyptian world. So moving on to ancient Greece. Ancient Greek or Athenian concept of democracy played a huge part in shaping human rights. It was established in the 5th century BCE and allowed male citizens to participate in the decision-making process. It allowed them to hold public office and participate in public assemblies. However, there are some massive limitations to this. It only said that 3 adults who had participated in military training or even completed military training could be considered citizens. Women, slaves, and foreign residents known as metics, I might be pronouncing that wrong, were completely excluded from this. And that's even more important when you look at how important women were in domestic affairs in ancient Greece, how important they were in religious affairs, and they were often confined to the household and completely forgotten about in political spheres. Slaves, who made up a massive proportion, had no say in how the country was run or how the city-state was run even, and metics, again, might be completely butchering that, also had no say, and they contributed greatly to the economy. Now, we know this through people like Aristotle, historical texts, and even some inscriptions, and even through the archaeological excavations performed in Athens. So now this is what I really wanted to talk about when I was making this video. This is the Cyrus Cylinder. This is often thought of as the very first human rights code. Now again, like everything on this list, it has its limitations, but this was from 539 BCE, so quite a bit after the Hammurabi Code, but this specifically speaks about the rights of individuals. Now, in particular, the rights of the individuals in Babylon that had just been conquered by Cyrus the Great. It says that they're allowed to return home, they've got freedom to worship whoever they want, their ancient gods, and this is a really significant archaeological find. It's a cuneiform script that outlines his policies. By him, I mean Cyrus the Great, when he took control of Babylon, hinting at several key principles. I've got the principles listed here. Freedom of religion, representation for displaced peoples, it's huge. Governance, the cylinder emphasizes Cyrus's desire to govern with justice and righteousness, promoting the welfare of his subjects and respecting their traditions and customs, which sounds very human rightsy to me. The archaeological evidence behind this, it was discovered in 1879, and it's in the British Museum, I believe, so, you know, as it would be. Now, some of the limitations to this, the audience and the scope of the Cyrus Cylinder, it only focuses on men from Babylon who have been displaced by his conquest. It doesn't discuss women explicitly, it doesn't discuss slaves or lower classes. It primarily benefits individuals of the upper classes, so really not that great. But again, we can't look at it through our modern context, we have to look at it at the time, and this was huge. Women's roles and rights were still defined by patriarchal structures at the time, and slavery continued to exist within the Persian Empire. The imperial context, the document served both a practical administrative purpose, as well as a propagandic one, aimed at legitimizing Cyrus's rule and portraying him as a liberator and the rightful king of Babylon. As we know, that was originally an Assyrian, it was a Babylonian kingdom taken over by Assyria and back and forward over hundreds and hundreds of years. Which should bring up a good point, because I do want to speak about Ashurbanipal at some point. Along with this, the main focus of this and why we have to take it with a pinch of salt is because he was a conquering king. The primary focus was on restoring order to that region of his empire. He wasn't doing it out of a benevolence. It was very much a calculated move. And we have very little evidence of whether or not this was enforced or it wasn't enforced. Again, all we have is this seal. So, in conclusion, from the Hammurabi Code to the Cyrus Cylinder, ancient civilizations helped lay the groundwork for the human rights code and human rights that we value today. These early efforts reflect the timeless pursuit of fairness and equality over time. Now, if you did enjoy this video and the way that I've done it this time round, please really do comment and let me know. Likes will obviously be the same. And yeah, if you want it changed, if you preferred the way I did it before, let me know. And if you do have any ideas or anything that you would like to see done in the future, please get in touch. Thank you guys very much and take care. Bye.